hear me at the back? All right, very good. Now, good evening and very nice to meet all of you. Before I go ahead, I just want to, because Shiva might have to leave in the next few minutes, thank you very much. Your topic was much better than what I expected, right? Even I got to think what the hat I wear, right? Now, my topic is not as interesting as yours, so you got to pardon me. I'll try to make it interesting, but I think it's an excellent speech, and I feel good that I had Shiva, meet us. When I talked to Paresh about a month or so ago, I was the only person who was going to speak. He said, "Can you speak for 2 hours?" I said, "No, I can't." So he said, "Let me get another friend of mine. I know Shiva." Shiva said, "I think 78. Probably, yeah, 78. So we have known each other 47 years now, right?" And somebody asked, "Does he speak French?" I think he went to Alliance Française with my sister, and both of them finished diplôme supérieur. I think, right? In fact, I think my sister went to France for some time, and so he speak. I didn't go to Alliance Française as well, but I flunked pre-diploma or something. I forget, whatever it was. Thank you very much, Shiva, and thank you very much, and thanks for helping the Indian team. I think they need your help now. Anyway, good. Myself, right?
Maybe with the permission of Paresh, definitely we will plan future sessions with Shiva, as we have a very short time today. Definitely we will plan further more sessions in future by contacting Prakash.
No, absolutely. You can contact me, and now he's going to leave his email, so you can contact him more, and I'm sure he has other similar topics.
I'll share my email ID.
Yeah.
No, I think you could probably also train people on similar HR topics. I know structured thinking was, but he can, which I think will benefit our CMAs or prospective CMAs. Now coming back to myself, right? So when I look at these people, I look at myself 40 years ago. I was just like you. I lived in this city, Chennai, from 75 to 85, right? I finished schooling in Ooty. I came here and did my BCom at the University, BCom in Vivekananda College. I did my CA, just like you. I didn't know what else to do. I did ICWA, I did ACS, right? And ended up working for Lovelock and Lewis, which subsequently became Coopers and Lybrand, and now PricewaterhouseCoopers. And then I went to Mumbai to work for Voltas briefly, and then Colgate-Palmolive. Then I got admission to an MBA in the US, and I went there and got MBA. And I went there, my ACA and ICW were useless. They said, "What the hell is this?" They said, "No, you will not be admitted to any of the accounting jobs there." So I did my CPA in the US, I did my CMA in the US, and I said, "Okay, that's enough. I think that's enough, what you call certifications." And I started working, and then I started with Coopers and Lybrand, and I worked for almost 36 years until I retired February of 2024. So I'm happily retired after having worked, I think you read several companies. I've been mostly in the US. I spent some time in Spain on an expat assignment. That's thinking of that, when Shiva said you should learn languages, I think it's very important for you to learn languages, because now the competition is global. You're not competing with just your peers across the world, because now anybody can do any job from any desk in the world, right? Of course, English helps us. English helps most of us, because that is still what they call the lingua franca of business. But if you can speak more than one, it's really, really useful. And like he said, Chinese is great, but I know Chinese it's not an easy language. Maybe Japanese, Arabic, and of course certainly Spanish, because if you learn Spanish, it will benefit you, because many countries, most of South America, in fact, in America, almost now 1/3 of the people speak Spanish. Most of the signs are in Spanish. As far as for myself, right? Apart from Tamil and English, I speak Spanish because I lived in Spain. I did learn French. When I was in Chennai, I learned Italian when I was in Chennai. I learned Russian when I was in Chennai. I don't remember any of that. Of course, Spanish is the only thing that I can speak, and French somewhat. Now I'm learning Sanskrit. So, while retiring, I said I have time, and I've learned Sanskrit anyway. So I'm also going to slightly deviate from the thing, because just to make it more interesting, more interactive, please feel free to stop me, because I am here to learn from you as much as you guys are here to learn from me. I think, learning is every day you learn something new. It's an exercise that you do until the day you die, right? And I think I wanted to, the gentleman shaking your head, I think I had the answer. What is failure? There's no failure. It's always learning. Either you learn or you succeed, right? And failure is a stepping stone to success. So don't think it is a failure. Hey, it's something I learned. I know how to do it better. I know how to do it different. So the next time I succeed. So these are some of the things that I made a mental note of when Shiva was speaking. Anyway, the topic for today is ethics. Again, why is ethics dear to me? Because I did all these accounting certifications, and most of my career, I think somebody is a CIA. I don't know. I was an internal auditor. Most of my life, I 30 plus years, I was in the internal audit profession. You know, I rose up the ranks and chose to be a chief auditor for several companies, including Cognizant. I think there was a Cognizant person here. I was the chief auditor for Cognizant for 5 years, and we'll talk about Cognizant a little later. I think as an auditor, I think my thing was always, you know, ethics was very big in the work that I do. You know, always make sure that hey, we do the right things and we do things right. And I think ethics, from a business point of view, I think it's important because I think it helps, as you will see, number one, deter, prevent, and detect fraud. Okay, so we'll see what is fraud and its impacts, and how important is ethics in the workplace? Why should we have ethics? Okay, understanding fraud and its impacts. Can you go to the next slide? Yes. Thank you. All right. What is the I'm sure you know. I have it here. The definition of fraud. Right. The definition of fraud is to gain an unfair advantage. And the most important thing is intentional deception. Right. It's somebody doing something with the view to harm another person or an organization. Right. In an organization, what could a fraud entail? You know, how does it take place? Asset misappropriation, right? Simple. I mean, when you talk about asset, you know, people walk away with company assets, laptops, phones. Again, this is bigger in terms of companies that hold inventory, right? Suppose you have precious metal inventory, you have silver or gold, and again, things that people can take away and sell for profit personally, right? And again, this also includes small things, like, you know, we take staplers, we take pens, you know, we take paper for our children. Oh, my kid needs in school, so I'm going to take some paper. I mean, even that is asset misappropriation. You know, again, there was, I'm not sure if any of you were CFE, Certified Fraud Examiner. Again, if some of you are interested, you could go for that certification as well. That institute, they do a study on how even these petty things that people take from work, staplers, pens and papers, even that could add up to somewhere between 2 to 3% of their revenue, right? People just take it away. And again, the next one is the most critical, financial statement fraud. I think that's the one that would impact all of us as management accountants, right? Either as auditors or people, what you call compiling the financial statements. We may become part or privy to some financial statement fraud. And again, that is a fraud. What does that means? That you mistake the financial statements with a view to falsify, so that, you know, people who rely on that statements, which could be your shareholders, which could be the stock exchange, which could be the bank that lends money, you're cheating them because you're saying something about your financial health which is not true, right? And again, this is the most common type of fraud, that most common, and I would say the most significant. You know, if you take fraud as a whole, that's the part of the one. And corruption, you know, corruption, you pay bribes to get things done, and again, that's as you will see, you know, that may be different from some countries. Corruption is totally banned. In some countries, you know, you cannot but corrupt. I mean, you cannot but bribe just to get things done, right? So I think it's from an ethical point of view, it's wrong to do it, and I think that's a dilemma that most of us would face. I'm not sure, should I say India or similar in most Asian societies, that, you know, that's a problem. Anyway, I quickly go through this, the consequences of fraud. Of course, financial losses, reputational damage. When you get the headlines of the Economic Times or Wall Street Journal, your name is gone, right? Of course, legal penalties. You may have to pay hefty penalties if you're caught of any fraud. And most importantly, community, right? People will no longer buy your product or service because your reputation is spoiled. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, why do people commit fraud, right? there are what they call is a three-legged stool, or is a it's a triangle. There's three things that you need. One is financial pressure. The person who commits the fraud is under some pressure. I mean, normally he has a motive. He or she, he or she has a motive. He's sick. His wife is sick, and they need 10 lakh rupees to do a surgery. Or he lost 50 lakh rupees in gambling, right? So he needs to make good that loss. So there's always a motive. And then what happens with that motive? That person who commits the fraud sees an opportunity, right? Oh, here is how I can make good the loss. I can, fudge the books, I can take some money, or I can route some checks that come in the name of the company to myself, and I can alter the name or the bank account, put the money in myself. And the third is, he rationalizes. He says, I'm entitled to do it. Because if either of them doesn't work, fraud will never happen. Even if there is an opportunity, but the person thinks that, hey, no, it's not my money, I shouldn't touch it, it will not happen. But these are three, what we call necessary ingredients or elements for for a fraud. Okay, now what is ethics? Now we've seen fraud, what's ethics? Ethics is, okay, I'm gonna ask a question. I know I have it here. What is ethics in your people's minds? I mean, anybody get to answer?
Integrity, transparency.
Sorry, louder?
Transparency.
Regulations which we have to follow.
Okay, could you please say rules and regulations we have to follow? Okay, true.
Transparency.
Transparency. Wow. Yes, certainly.
Something is right. We personally believe that something is right. So it changes as well.
You're almost there. I mean, all of them are right, but you're hitting the nail on the head.
These are judgments based on the character.
Judgments based on the character. Okay. Well, I'm not sure it's a judgment. In some cases, it could be a judgment.
It should be rational.
I'm sorry?
It should be rational.
It should be rational. Certainly. I agree. Okay. No, I think these are all very valid explanations. And I think this gentleman here almost hit the nail on the head. Right? Simple thing, doing the right thing. That's it. All of these that you said are characteristics of doing the right thing, right? It should be transparent. It should follow rules and regulations. It should be to the best of your judgment. But always doing the right thing is at least I believe that's the first step to being ethical, right? So here it says ethicals is moral principles that guide us, that helps us distinguish between right and wrong behavior. Now some of the what would I call it? The characteristics. How do you know what's right or wrong? It should be honest. It should be fair. There's more stuff to it. It should be credible. And why is it important? Because ethical behavior, ethical decision making, ethical actions forms the foundation for any company. You think about it. This should be set in stone for a company to develop and sustain in the long term. Ethics is more important. All the other things comes on top. Your strategy, your marketing thing, it's all great. They will all give you success. They will all make you profitable in the short term. But in the long term, if you want to succeed, because at some point of time, all of the other factors, I think that's, I think I would refer to Shiva's thing. It may fall into different hats, but ethics is like constant. At every point of time, you need to be ethical. Ethical is the number one, what do you call it? The foundation that you need. Okay, you can this is all some requirements. Number one, you got to promote ethics, right? You must have a code of conduct for a company to say, hey, these are all the ethical actions, the ethical requirements. Leadership should commit. Tone at the top. I think again, there's a CIA. I think you're a CIA, right? Tone at the top. It's very important. Do as you preach. Walk the talk. Some of the things you got to do. Again, that is sometimes amiss in some companies. Again, ethics is only for the middle and lower management, the top management, something. But again, people will easily find out. Again, so most of these people who don't abide by this, or again, they may survive in the short term, but in the long term, the rug will be put under them. And clear expectations, right? Again, you've got to tell your employees, this is what ethical behavior is. Next slide, please. Okay, I think, all right. Again, this is pretty much a repetition of the previous one. You need to have ethics as core values, and more importantly, reputation and success. Like is important for a company's viability and long-term success, right? I mean, for example, I grew up here in India, right? I have always known, right from when I grew up as a teenager in my 20s, taught us are very reputable, right? I think that reputation even holds today. I mean, again, some of their businesses may not be as successful, may not be as profitable, but I think their way of doing business is always fair. And again, I would tend to believe they take blame for anything that goes wrong. They don't blame somebody else. They don't blame the government. They don't blame the environment. They say, hey, we made a mistake. We will set it right. I mean, again, for me, the Iridia thing was an example, right? Again, I know a lot of people have a lot of what you call opinions, but I still think the way that they reacted was very ethical. I mean, to me, it sounded a good way of a company reacting to the situation. Now, in the IMA, I think we said, hey, what is ethical? These are some of the, what would I call it? The principles, like honesty, fairness, objectivity, and responsibility. Or what would I call it? The principles that govern ethical behavior. Again, IMA has specific ethics standards. I would urge all of you to go to the IMA website. There is what's called the SCPP, Statement of Professional Practice for the Ethics, where all of this is listed. I would urge all of you to get familiar with these 4 standards. Okay, could you just flip through just to have 30 seconds on each competence? Make sure that you have an appropriate level of expertise. Again, somebody mentioned doing things in accordance with laws and regulations. I think that's very important, especially for management accounts, because we are bound by, in the US, we are bound by SEC rules, you have SEBI rules, you have company law. I mean, all these things you want to make sure that, as far as we know, that the accounts that either we manage, we prepare, we oversee, are in line with these regulations. And more importantly, we provide decision support, right? As management accountants, we must endeavor to make sure that our recommendations, our reports are clear, concise, and our utility value. Confidentiality, I mean, we all know that. Information should be confidential. Do not share with company information, to people who might not be in need, and who might use it in an incorrect way, right? Most importantly, do not use any confidential information for unethical or illegal advantage. I mean, again, this is something like, the trading, right? I mean, insider trading, sorry, thank you very much. So, I mean, that's the main reason, right? Because many of us are privy to company results. Hey, we're going to buy this company, we're going to introduce this product. So don't try to game the market with the knowledge of such information. Integrity, I mean, conflict of interest. If you have interest, if you have an uncle or a wife or a brother-in-law, or whose company your company is going to buy services, you may want to make sure that either you declare that and you are not part of the the decision making for that purchase, and if you always abstain yourself or recuse yourself from such decisions. Again, all of this credibility, right? Again, that's communicating information fairly and objectively. And again, these are all things that we do, right? In terms of if we come across any deficiencies and internal controls, we make sure that the appropriate people, either internally or externally, know about it. Resolving ethical issues. Again, I believe most of you, again, I'm not sure, but I would assume that most of you work for companies that has a what they call a whistleblower hotline. If you see something, say something, right? Now, if you do not have if you work for a company, now if you're an IMA, the IMA would help you if you face a certain situation that you think, hey, I am not sure if what's happening is ethical, because there is certainly your conscience will work. Hey, I'm seeing this at work. How do I deal with it, right? And for my own edification, how do I address this? The IMA, you can reach the IMA hotline anonymously. You don't even have to give your name. You can just say, I'm X, I'm calling, I don't know, you can put as much information, I've seen this, what do I do? And you will get a response back from the IMA in terms of how to deal with that if, at least for your own knowledge and for your conscience, to make sure that you do the right thing. Okay, next thing. Okay, let's move to the next slide.
Is it moving? Yes.
Okay, now this is the most critical thing, right? I mean, okay, we found out what ethical is. Now, how is it a tool, right, for fraud deterrence and prevention? Okay, now the distinctions I want to make here is deterrence and prevention, right? It happens before the fraud happens, right? I mean, in other words, it will even prevent the fraud from happening because the person is either scared or the person is either prevented, as opposed to detection, which we will see, hey, something happened, but we will find out later that it happened, right? Again, we talked about this. How do we make sure that fraud is either deterred or prevented? Leaders, right? The company leaders should emphasize that ethical behavior is important. That unethical behavior is not tolerated. That you need to report something. Get certifications from all the employees to make sure that hey, you've done the, as far as you know, that you've done the right thing. Expectations, right? Make sure that what you expect of the employees by way of a code of conduct. Make sure that it's communicated. If you have an ethical policy, make sure the employees know about it. Periodically ask employees to certify and enforce, right? I mean, again, if you keep a log of all the the complaints received, I think we'll see that. But I think it's good to enforce it. Make sure that if people are, you're not supposed to hire companies with their employees as relatives. Make sure that hey, you enforce. Go to the employer and make sure that he or she has no relatives in the company, right? I mean, again, there's lots of detective tools available for all that, but there should be some kind of an enforcement. Ethics education, and then reporting procedures. How to report what you call unethical behavior, right? If people see it, because sometimes people will be scared, right? I mean, because hey, the person that you're going to be reporting is your boss, your boss's boss, your superior. So you need to figure out how does the company address such significant matters, because people may be afraid to report. Okay, now let's go to the next thing, right? Most important thing is the whistleblower, right? We just talked about how do you do that? Make it anonymous. You tell them, hey, you don't have to tell your name. You can just put it, like I said, some companies do that, right? Protection from retaliation. And you can tell them that not only if you report, and some companies you can put your name, and it doesn't, in other words, if it is indeed a fair and a correct, report, you cannot be retaliated. Right? That's the law. I mean, nobody can take action against you. Okay. Now, ethical reporting again is a tool to make sure that we detect and address, because people will know that even if I commit it and somebody does it, he or she is going to, is going to report me to the whistleblower hotline. Now, this is again we talked about all this. Making sure that the safeguard identity. Okay. Now the next, how do we integrate ethical considerations into the normal work? I mean, as auditors and as accountants and preparers, right? As auditors, you want to make sure that ethical standards are incorporated in audit process. I mean, that makes sure that hey, everything is signed, approved per the company policy. If you find something is amiss, raise it up, and it's a good tool in fraud detection, ethical internal controls, and ethical. I mean, again, these are all pretty much the same in terms of it's a repetition. Just make sure that you have a good system of internal control policies and reporting. Okay. Now, what are some of the challenges and best? Like in ethics is a very, what would I call it? It's an important, but sometimes very, it's very difficult to hold because of the pressures of the market, the company that you work in. And these are some of the challenges. Okay, how does it become, right? The number one challenge is barrier to ethics is pressure to meet targets, right? Because the company has a budget, the company has a target, and the company wants to meet that. So they do whatever is necessary to meet that target, and that's when that we saw earlier financial statement fraud, could happen. That's no. Can you go back? I'm sorry. Can you go back?
Yes.
I just want to talk about the other two as well. Yeah, cultural barriers, right? No, one more. The barriers to it.
Yeah.
This one, right? Cultural barriers, right? Again, this is I want to talk about this because not all societies are the same when it comes to what is the ethical or unethical. For example, bribes, right? In the U.S., no. I mean, it's absolutely done. I mean, whereas like I said, Asian societies, it's allowed. Mostly, like for example, I've been to Korea. They call it facilitation payment, right? We call it bribe. Suppose you pay 1,000 rupees to get your home inspected, or you get your boiler in your factory, pass emission inspection, right? So these are all some cultural barriers. These are allowed for the society. So again, those are different barriers that we need to be aware of in terms of ethics. If we should have clear communications of leadership. I mean, if we don't have that, that's certainly a big barrier to having a good ethical environment. Yeah, I'm sorry, my topic is a little bit more dry than what Shiva's having, right? But, okay, now let's come to some, I think hopefully we'll have some dialogue here. I mean, this is analyzed, right? I mean, we said we get a lot of reports. Again, this is very similar to what Shiva's program is. Is every failure, right? I mean, is an opportunity. I think somebody asked about failure. Is an opportunity to restore and re-energize the business. You learn from every failure, right? So you look at every every ethical lapse and figure out what is it that we should do. How should I remodel it? So again, that helps the company from falling into disrepute. Learn from your failures. I mean, again, we repeat. You're certainly going to fail. You're not going to pass every time, and hopefully we don't think it's a big ethical lesson. I mean, simple. Some of the more ethical lapses that have happened in the recent past. Again, this is not a thing. GE, I don't know, I'm sure GE was the largest company in the US, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. They did some accounting boo-boos and the company went down. Now they are all broken up. And I think they are, their engines are part of the Air India, crash as well. So that's, again, it's not that nothing disrepute, but I'm just saying that they are there. Volkswagen, I think this was even a big one. I'm not sure how many of you in India are familiar with this. Volkswagen were the leaders of diesel engine cars, right? Diesel cars. Now, they were cheating a long time because the government gave certain, tax concessions in the US, and I think it's pretty much all over Europe, because they fudged the number of kilometers you can get on a liter of mileage, right? So it was all fudged. I mean, they recalibrated all the machines for the testing machines, and then finally they fessed up. The whole scheme involved, and they got swamped. Enron, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with that. Right? Enron was a big company, and I think they went down, and so did. There was a big firm called Arthur Andersen, which is as big as KPMG, Pricewaterhouse. They also went kaput. Now, let's talk about India, right? I'm sorry because I said
Satyam.
There we go. Satyam, right? The reason I said Satyam was I was the head of Cognizant when Satyam happened. Satyam and Cognizant were competing with each other. I worked in Cognizant from 2007 to 2012. I was the head of internal audit at that time. So I remember Mr. Ramanindra Raju, I think was the guy. Satyam, right? They went down and we got all this, information. Oh my gosh, Satyam is under trouble because they fudged their books. They have no cash, but they, lied to the auditors, and they had a scheme. I tell you, even the internal auditor of Satyam was not aware this was going on. Such was the deviousness in which how they managed this between Mr. Raju and I think you guys in the controls department. I was the head of audit for Cognizant. At that time, I was called by my boss, the audit committee. He said, how do you know this is not happening in Cognizant, right? So immediately I had to come to India to, I mean, we did make sure that, hey, okay, is the cash that we see on the balance sheet really in the bank, right? So we actually had to go to the bank and make sure that we have this cash really. I mean, it was a good exercise. But anyway, that was a, that was a sort of an ethical lapse that Satyam should look down. Now, what are the best practices? You want to make sure, continuous education, right? Like I said, certification, continuously educate your employees on ethics, leadership. Again, I don't think we have to repeating on this leadership. Leader sets by example of how things are to be done. Transport communication. I mean, communicate to employees that they reward. And again, this is gaining a lot of ground in the U.S. Ethical behavior. If you report or if you do something that is right, and you get rewarded. I mean, the company has what you call a lot of, what would I call it? Public companies in the U.S. have started giving some kind of an incentive, right? $1,000 bonus or $5,000. Now the SEC, which is the what do you call it? The equivalent of SEBI, right? If you report something, and if they do find an issue, they give a percentage. Let's say, for example, if you find fraud that actually cost the company to overstate $25 million or whatever. I mean, the amount of the penalties that they get from the company, they share it with the whistleblower. So now more people are saying, I want that money. It's just like winning a lottery. I mean, you say the truth. But sometimes now people are just saying something just to get the money. So that's also the downside of it, just to get the money. In conclude, again, ethics play a role, I think, in preventing, detecting, deterring. Cultural benefits, right? Protects company assets, company reputation and interest. And I'm just saying, it is imperative that the ethical commitment is ongoing and integrated at all levels of an organization. Okay, so I try to make it as short as possible, so that I don't delay from you guys getting the dinner much longer. But please feel free to ask me any questions. I mean, I want to make it interactive. So if there's any questions, yes, please.
So don't you think whistleblowing affects the secrecy of companies?
Your question is, does whistleblowing affect the secrets of companies? Well, I don't think so. I'm just trying to figure out, because what the whistleblower is only going to, he's going to, first of all, I mean, number one, right? It only stays within the company, right? Unless, of course, he whistleblows to the authority, like SEC or SEBI, in which case it becomes public. And your question is, hey, what if the secrecy of the company goes out, right? Highly unlikely. I mean, again, I'm just thinking out as you speak, because what is he going to? He is going to whistleblow an activity that's illegal or improper or unethical, right? Again, is that a secret? I mean, is he going to give away the secret, the proprietary information of the company? Highly unlikely. I mean, I don't think so. And I think if a company is doing something illegal, I think the company is not doing the right thing. You know what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. Now, if the subject matter of the whistleblower, right, itself, it's something illegal, right, or improper. If you're saying that itself is a secret, I mean.
Sir, I'm not saying that is the secret. There are many other good secrets in the company. So what if the whistleblower,
Gets affected.
Shall I give it?
Absolutely. No, go ahead.
See, when you talk about whistleblower, he's going to say something about the secret of the company to whom? That's a question.
to anyone?
Anyone, yeah, there the principle comes. There is the ethical rules and regulation is there. So according to the ethical regulations, you first, if anything found wrong in the company, you are the person found out, for example, something going wrong. Then immediately you have to refer the ethical policy of the company, what I am supposed to do. Okay, there is no ethical policy, because most of the small companies, there is no ethical policy. So what you are supposed to do? You can talk to the superior. Suppose if the superior is going to do this wrong, then you have to talk to your superior's boss. Okay, if you go like this, no, he is also handling laws. Okay, go to the CFO. No, CFO also involved. Go to the GM. No, GM also involved. Go to the board. Board means account, normally audit committee. Okay, audit committee, you have reported. Even after that, you are not satisfied. Audit committee also keeping quiet because the share prices depends upon the profitability. So they don't want to correct it. So if you found that is also wrong, you can check with your attorney, with the lawyer, and you can report to the authorities. So this is how the ethical information has to pass. Whistleblower means you cannot take a mic and call all the press and give like this. You cannot do this. Okay? So there are regulations you have to follow. I think I'm answering your question. Thank you.
No, thank you very much for that. I'm sorry I didn't understand the question. Obviously, there is most have an hierarchy, right? If you talk to your boss's boss, HR, sometimes, if you think, or some companies have what's called a compliance department, right? You go tell them if it's legal. Again, there is a hierarchy, and like I said, the information stays within that circle. It does not go out, unless, of course, you go report to, like I said, all of these people are involved, right? From my boss up to the board, then you go to an attorney, you go to SEBI. I think SEBI has some rules. Then, obviously it goes to somebody outside the company. Okay, a good question.
There's a whistleblower policy. It's a policy, and you have to go by the policy.
Again, I'm adding here, whistleblowers are protected. Don't worry. If any whistleblower has done properly as per the rules and regulations, company cannot sack him till it is getting solved.
Yeah, absolutely, a good point, right? Effective boards, like for example, I have, as a chief auditor, one of my jobs in some of my companies was to tell the board, the audit committee, every quarterly. I was an overseer of the whistleblower process. Like, how many complaints did the company receive? What did they do about it? How many were resolved? And why were they not resolved, right? So I had to, even though I was not responsible for the process, but I had to report to the board and say, hey, we got this complaint about, we get all menial complaints. Oh, somebody's smoking during work break, or somebody's, taking paper away, or whatever. Something as small as that, to something as big as, the general manager is padding his expense reports, right? We've got such whistleblower thing. And again, there are much more, significant ones. But anyway, any more questions from the audience?
So recently I came to the news. Do you remember
Yes. Okay.
It was made by Boeing.
It was what? I'm sorry?
Yeah, the aircraft is made by Boeing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Boeing aircraft.
Yeah, what I heard is there was two whistleblowers, and they were removed by the company, and one is not alive now. Actually.
Really?
Not
Is that?
alive. There are some.
I'm sorry, I'm not aware of this. So was this an AI employee?
No,
Oh, you're talking about, okay,
Boeing.
okay, that's possible, now that is, right, that was years ago, and I agree, there was one of them raised complaints about the engines used in the 787, right? Again, I agree, that is what you call, hopefully, that is being investigated, or that is being looked into as the report of the crack, even though they issued an initial report 2 months ago. Hopefully, they can say, did this thing happen just now, or is this an issue that happened 10 years ago, and some people knew about this, they just kept quiet, or no action was taken? Hopefully, we'll find out. And again, if Boeing, for example, the talk in the US amongst my friend circle was done. Boeing that's it, they're going out of business. Somehow they managed to still cling on, but what you say, if they find it true that, hey, there was a whistleblower and then Boeing did not act on it, or one person died, whatever, hopefully he was not killed. I think Boeing is a lot of soup. We'll see. But again, personally, from an ethical point of view, that's what I would say. But judging by our president, we don't know what's going to happen. Again, please, I'm being honest about it here because, there are, what would I call it, political overtones, political interests that may overshadow the ethical part of it. Again, you can see that in the long run they will all fall apart. I mean, that's because that's the truth of any organization that is being unethical. Oh, by the way, you can not show this slide because this was meant to be called as a women's virtual leadership summit, but I know it's too late because the early bird rates end September 12th. So I guess it's still open, but you will not get the benefit of the discounted rates. But this is virtual. It's going to happen on September 25th. I mean, for those of you who are interested and are able and willing, you can go to this website. This is only for women of the IMA. I think it's going to happen US time, I believe. But it's open to the IMA members and prospective members worldwide. So if you are any of you women are interested, this is again it's a women's leadership summit. So you'll hear all the wonderful women of the IMA talk about their experiences. So please feel free to register.
I have a doubt with that.
Sure.
So there was this one incident where the Indian derivative markets and a US company manipulated their liabilities by put and call options and made around 4,000 crores. The CB is investigating with regards to it, but the company's arguments is that their model itself works in that way by not exactly manipulating. They don't use the word manipulating the market, but that is how the strategy is. Is it ethical or not?
See, again, these are the kinds of what they call the gray areas. It's, and many people capitalize on this. It's neither black nor white. So hey, I'm here, so I'm ethical. Again, these are all very difficult to say which it is. The real intent. What was the real intent? I mean, the intent was, hey, you know what? My objective was not to cheat the market. It's just that my product was so good or whatever. The tool that I used was so efficient that
you are packaging something unethical, ethical. Something you are packaging it in a different way to say that it is unethical.
I mean, again, I don't know the answer, but I think I would say, right? I mean, the intent when you say you package, right? Ethical, unethical. The package was, hey, I'm using the best information to the best of my knowledge, and doing the right thing. All I'm saying is, hey, I am going to program it in such a way that it gains the whatever, the quick profits. But you're saying, hey, you know what? Let's, if it is taking advantage of a loop in the system, a loophole in the system. If the intent was, not to use an ethical mean or a legitimate means to earn the profits, but use the loophole in the system, I would, therein lies the answer, whether it's ethical or unethical. Again, these are all very, like I said, gray areas, unless somebody goes, and that's why you have all of these SEBIs, and I am sure they are involving lawyers to figure out, how this thing was structured or how these things happen, so you can get to the real intent, the motive behind how the company did this. I mean, there are a lot of things, right? I mean, I know unethical. A lot of companies are, are right on the wall.
They are still lying in the gray area.
Gray area, exactly, right? I mean, it's like, for example, now hacking. Hacking is bad, right? Hacking is unethical. But now we have certified hacking. Now we have certified hackers. They are ethical because they are trying to beat the hackers, right? So I mean, these are such nuances between ethics. I mean, doing some things ethically, but could be unethical, or something could be unethical, but helping to doing things ethical. So I'm sure there's more to come. But I think at the end of the day, right, it's a conscious thing. Do you feel it's the right thing? I mean, are you able to sleep at night that, hey, I did the right thing? I mean, that's the test of time, right? Because most of the time, when we do something wrong or when we see something wrong, you can't. I mean, you get them like, oh my God, did I do the right thing? Did I, should I have done something different? I mean, that's your conscience will tell. I mean, again, these are all, ethics is inherent, right? I mean, most part, when especially in our culture, Indian culture, do the right thing, speak the truth, don't touch somebody else's money or whatever. I mean, just saying small things. I mean, this is just extending that to our workplace, to our, whatever we do. I mean, workplace or a religious institution, or an IMA where I serve on the board, etc. I mean, that's a common ethical inherent doing the right thing. That's always the norm. Thank you very much. And again, I'm really pleased. Again, like I said, I'm from Chennai. I grew up here. I come to Chennai more often now. I come for the last 3-4 years. I've been coming every 3 to 4 months. My parents live here in Chennai. So don't worry. Tamil but next time we'll do it. I mean, but anyway, thanks for all. I'm really I'm really pleased to see the very young faces, especially the qualified the CMS, right? Hopefully you guys are all continuing to be members of the IMA, because I know there's a concern that many people get pass the exam but don't keep the membership, right? I know we are trying to address that because of the the dollar to rupee, exchange rate. It may be a little bit heavy on your pocketbook. We're trying to exchange that, but please keep it up. Please, go for the CSCA exam. And I think the gentleman of the FMAA, congratulations. I mean, I would like to take a picture with you so that I can show my board that, hey, here's the FMA world #1 ranking, right? I am proud to be coming in. Okay, well, thank you all. Wish you the best. And again, I am on LinkedIn. Please feel free to connect. I also have a IMA email. I will give that as well. So I look forward to connecting with all of you, not most of you, and wish you all good luck.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prakash Rajan. I've always felt that, as technology evolves, the world keeps changing, older things start becoming irrelevant. But the one thing that's always stood, is still standing, and will always stand forever is ethics. So it never becomes irrelevant, but it keeps on evolving. The way we understand ethics keeps changing, but it never becomes irrelevant. So just wanted to thank you so much. Your session today certainly